Good day everyone, I'm Vin Robinson and this is C2C News. Today's top stories. The power players who will shape Manitoba's policies as key ministers. Manitoba's PCs. Recent advertisements. A tasteless campaign issue.
Manitoba's political landscape is rapidly transforming as Premier-designate Wab Kinew takes the reins of leadership. In this pivotal moment, the spotlight shines on the trio of members of the Legislative Assembly, individuals poised to join his inner circle. Their appointments promise to shape the province's future and set the stage for the next 4 years in the administration. As Kinew assembles his cabinet, he will focus on selecting key individuals to fill pivotal positions. Within his inner circle, 3 names we suspect will form the main core of the administration. These figures are not only destined to make their mark in the cabinet, but also hold the potential to redefine the province's political landscape. It would be nothing short of shocking if any of these 3 were to be left out of the cabinet or placed in anything but high-profile positions. Robert Loisel, MLA for St. Boniface. With a background in education, Loisel is a Francophone Métis born and raised in North St. Boniface and is more than prepared to take on a prominent cabinet role. His experience as a teacher underscores his potential as a Minister of Education. Furthermore, Loisel's communication skills perfectly position him for the minister responsible for municipal relations role, considering the abundance of educators elected. His inclusion in the cabinet is almost a certainty, considering he defeated the leader of the Liberal Party, Dougal Dumont. Uzoma Asseguara, MLA for Union Station. Asseguara's extensive background in the healthcare industry makes her a compelling candidate for a significant cabinet portfolio. Having previously served as a healthcare critic, Asseguara's knowledge of the healthcare system positions her as a natural choice for the pivotal role of Minister of Health. Her collegiate history as a university basketball player might also open doors to the position of Minister of Sports, although the former is arguably more fitting for her. It would be nothing short of astonishing if Asseguara were not entrusted with a major cabinet role, given her potential to drive transformative change in the province's healthcare system. Nahani Fontaine, MLA for St. John's. Fontaine holds multiple degrees in various sectors. Her deep understanding of government affairs and one of the most prominent faces in the party make her a candidate for a high-profile cabinet position. With her credentials, she could excel as the Speaker of the Legislature, Leader of the House, or Minister for Crown Relations, each requiring astute and diligent leadership. The prospect of Fontaine not securing a top-tier cabinet role would be surprising, given her proven capabilities and potential to bring fresh perspective to crucial government functions. The critical position of Justice Minister will likely go to someone with a strong legal background, given the nature of legal matters. Additionally, the Indigenous Relations portfolio, traditionally retained by the Premier, may see new leadership with the emergence of highly elected, qualified Indigenous MLAs. The key administrative positions will be Mark Rosner, previously Chief of Staff in the NDP Leader's Office and Deputy Campaign Manager in the recent campaign, who is now the Chief of Staff in the Premier's Office. Emily Coots, who served as Director of Communications and Political Director in the NDP Caucus Office during the recent campaign, becomes the Principal Secretary in the Premier's Office. Rebecca Whitcomb, known for her role as Communications Officer and Director of Communications in the NDP Caucus Office during the campaign, takes on the position of Deputy Chief of Staff in the Premier's Office. Mark Rosner and Brian Topp will co-chair the transition process, with Topp's extensive experience as the campaign director for Manitoba NDP in 2023 and his previous roles with Alberta Premier Rachel Notley and Saskatchewan Premier Roy Romanow. As the cabinet positions are filled, Manitobans will look to their new leaders to guide them through this transition in the next 4 years. The promise of a more united Manitoba under Premier-designate Wab Kinew's leadership is one that many are hopeful will become a reality.
Welcome back. This is your health tip of the day. Cortisol. It's the #1 stress killer. Basically, you don't want your levels to be too high or too low. You just want them to be at an equilibrium. Essentially, you want to take those pocket breaks during the day. Me time. You don't want to work through the workday and not get a little bit of a break. You got those 10:15s, 12 noon, 2:15s, all the way throughout the day. So make sure to utilize them. Step out, smell the fresh air, walk around, get back to the desk, or whatever your pocket break may be. This is your Fit Tip of the Day. We'll be right back.
The battleground is characterized by heated debates, differing ideologies, and the occasional controversial political advertisement. Recently, the Manitoba Progressive Conservatives sparked outrage with their advertisements highlighting their decision not to allocate government funds to search landfills for the bodies of missing Indigenous women. This approach to a sensitive issue has been met with widespread criticism, as many argue that this is not just a matter of budgeting, but a question of ethics, empathy, and human rights. The ad, emblazoned with the slogan, "Stand firm against the unsafe $184 million land dig," has left many questioning the motives behind turning a serious and tragic matter into a political campaign issue. While budget constraints can be a legitimate concern for any government, the decision to feature it prominently in a political campaign is seen by many as deeply insensitive. This issue is not just about fiscal responsibility, but the relationship between the Indigenous communities and the Manitoba government. The handling of this situation underscores the already rocky relationship between the two parties. A lack of empathy. The PC's decision to use the issue of searching for missing Indigenous women's bodies as a campaign issue demonstrates a lack of empathy and understanding for the deep pain and suffering experienced by these communities. It sends a message that their concerns are being trivialized for political gain. Human rights concerns. Searching for the remains of missing Indigenous women is not just a matter of finances, but a human rights issue. These women and their families deserve justice and closure. By framing it as a budgetary problem, the government neglects its responsibility to address this pressing matter. Trust erosion. Indigenous communities have long struggled with issues of trust and communication with government authorities. This advertisement further erodes trust by making it seem like the government is more concerned with its financial bottom line than the well-being of Indigenous people. Polarizing politics. Using such a sensitive issue as a campaign tool further polarizes the political landscape. It pits one group against another and hinders the prospects for constructive dialogue and collaboration between the government and Indigenous communities. The Manitoba PCs, highlighting their reluctance to allocate funds for searching landfills for the bodies of missing Indigenous women, have struck a nerve with many. Using this issue as a campaign tool only exacerbates the strained relationship between the Indigenous communities and the Manitoba government. Political leaders must approach such sensitive matters with the seriousness and respect they deserve, recognizing that these issues go beyond politics and budgets. They touch the lives and well-being of real people.
Welcome back from that commercial break. This is your traffic tip of the day. It's that time of year, roadways are slick. You want to have a little bit of a softer tire. It's all about the winter tire program. If you can't afford tires, make sure to reach out to Manitoba Public Insurance. They'll help you with that. You can have better traction, better ability to be able to stop your vehicle. It's all about being in control, so don't go too fast. Once again, those roads are very slick. This is your traffic tip of the day. And now your traffic report. Well, traffic going from north to south in Winnipeg is definitely going to slow down. With the Arlington Street Bridge, a historic landmark in Winnipeg, closing, now you're going to have to leave your home a little bit earlier. You're going to have to commute by either going down Salter or McPhillips. So make sure to prepare, give yourself that little bit of extra time during rush hour. That is your traffic bump of the day.
As with any problem, it is important to understand the reason for its occurrence. This is also true for the absurdly high number of fires burning down vacant homes in lower income portions of Winnipeg. According to Mayor Scott Gillingham, there are 685 vacant and derelict properties, a number that includes apartment buildings and a number that is continually rising. 685 buildings that could seemingly house at least as many individuals, 685 houses that have been boarded up to prevent theft and unwanted settlers while the property remains unkempt. Most are in need of some form of repair or renovation, while others require major restoration. These boarded up and neglected houses are often subject to vandalism, break-ins, and specifically, fire damage. Daily Commercial News reported that throughout 2023, there were 104 fires in vacant buildings, which is a record for 1 year in Winnipeg, and just from April 5th to October 31st, there were 62 fires in vacant buildings. These homes are likely to suffer burn damage when desperate people with little other choice inevitably break in and are forced to light fires at night or during winter in order to fight off the cold. Since these fires are unregulated and started in places not designed to be a heating source, large blazes are bound to happen. Currently, a volunteer by the name of Sel Burrows is leading a group of volunteers in getting houses that have been illegally boarded up registered and put through the proper procedure to seal these vacant buildings. Livable spaces meant to house the people of Canada purposefully and intentionally left empty. Meanwhile, a simple walk through the streets of downtown Winnipeg shows the signs of thousands of homeless Winnipeggers struggling to survive in our city, a rampant issue that any long-time resident has grown disturbingly numb and accustomed to. Thousands of individuals, some without the mental or physical capacity to care for themselves, are left to fend for themselves in some of the coldest temperatures in the habitable world. By simply looking at these two issues side by side, you arrive at an easy-to-see conundrum. How can we have a problem with homes being peopleless and people being homeless? It fundamentally does not make sense. It is essential to understand that homelessness in a nation as developed and wealthy as Canada is at its base a societal issue. When a nation has more than enough resources to provide to every one of its citizens, yet fails to do so for thousands and thousands of those citizens, it is a clear indication of a failure by that nation. The solution is certainly not as straightforward as giving the keys of vacant buildings to the nearest homeless person. People still own these homes and would obviously need to be compensated for their use, as well as a host of other issues. Who's liable for damage to this property? How would you pay to renovate and upkeep these properties? How would you fund a program of this magnitude? There's a reason this is such a pervasive problem. There is no easy answer to these questions. Despite this, however, it's clear to see for any compassionate, civilized person we simply cannot stand by and do nothing while thousands of disadvantaged Winnipeggers are left to their own devices amid our bitterly cold environment. Fighting against them, boarding up windows, forcing them to make life-threatening fires in order to stave off hypothermia, and arresting them for breaking and entering is counterintuitive. It makes far more sense to work together and ensure a system wherein these people are able to safely and legally use these vacant living spaces. A system that benefits citizens, landlords, and government, even if that is somewhat idealistic. If people in need of housing were accountable for the vacant homes they were staying in through a government-funded program, they would be far less likely to vandalize them because they would immediately be held accountable. Plus, having a long-term connection with these homes would foster responsibility for the house, as well as encourage them to want to seek their own personal long-term housing solution. That's not to mention that obviously the fires would immediately and drastically reduce due to the houses simply being properly heated. So again, there is no simple solution to this issue, yet the problem really is quite simple. You can't have a problem with both homes being peopleless and people being homeless. As citizens and as a government, we must open dialogue on how we can resolve these interconnected issues simultaneously.
And welcome back. What a terrific season in the CFL. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers created a dynasty like we haven't seen before. It's terrific what they're able to do. They climbed all the way to the top of the Western Conference Finals only to take the championship of the helm once again. Only once again to leap to the finals in Hamilton to compete against a very, very tough team, the Montreal Alouettes. We tip our hat to the Montreal Alouettes as they have been in a drought for 16 years. True Winnipeggers know what that's like to feel. But on the rebound, we'll be back next year. November 11th, 2023 was an historic time. We did our Midwest Basketball Anovets tribute, and we were able to merge together with athletes from the US and Canada. This program keeps growing and getting larger and larger as we go on. We are starting to show the basketball etiquette that is required in order to have these juniors enter into a higher level of play. It's terrific. Why don't you watch some of this clip? We'll be right back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Vin Robinson here at Garden City Collegiate in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. We're here with an exciting game that's about to happen. I mean, as you can see behind me, we're here in Garden City and there's already basketball that's taking place here on the court. But the crescendo of the night is going to be the PBA Selects versus the Midwest All-Stars. Now, on this Anavet Tribute 9.0, there was a lot that took place. We had a practice. We brought in a bunch of players internationally into Winnipeg to compete. And we had a terrific scrimmage today with points that were so high, it blew my mind. Now we're here to compete for the game. It's going to be terrific, fabulous. Stick around, watch it, and follow us on coasttocoastsports.net for the game when it populates. We'll see you soon.
Hello everyone. Today we're here to watch some fantastic basketball from these great young athletes. We're here with the PBA Selects in the red jerseys. They'll be represented as the home team on the scoreboard. We've got the Midwest All-Stars represented as the blue team. They'll be the away team. PBA starts with the ball. And as always, we are presented by Coast to Coast Sports, here to showcase these talented young athletes.
Today we have an absolutely astounding guest here to talk to us about the Manitoba African Cup of Nations soccer tournament. His name is Gode from the Canadian Mennonite University. Now, when we call this a tournament, it's not really just a tournament, is it?
No, it's not.
Now, we talked earlier about the pandemic's effect on people in general, but the soccer community wasn't overly affected. So tell me, what makes the Manitoba African Cup of Nations more than just a soccer tournament?
Once again, first of all, thank you for having me here. The Manitoba African Cup of Nations, it's more than just a tournament. It's about community. It's about creating a sense of belonging to the people. The Manitoba African Cup of Nations, we have been operating for the past 4 years. Despite of pandemics, we have seen a lot of growth that has happened. As for the past 2 years, we had, on 2020, we had 1,500 people that came out to our finals. And I'm sorry if any government officials are watching this. We broke some restrictions, but this was for the betterment for our people. Pandemic really affected many of our people in the community. And this was the only thing that gave them a sense of belonging and sense of hope, where they can connect and socialize with other people. So, the Manitoba African Cup of Nations, it's more than a tournament. It's about unifying our black communities here in Manitoba and hopefully across Canada in coming years.
Now, we've talked a lot about, especially in recent years, sports becoming a business, and where money means more than whatever, you know, the Jets are Winnipeg's team, or the Bombers are Winnipeg's team. We'll get more about the Bombers later.
Yes.
But where sports has become more of a business and not a community feel.
Mm-hmm.
But this type of tournament, or we'll just call it an event, because it goes beyond being a tournament.
Yes.
It's just, it brings it brings hope to everybody because it's such seems to me such a community based thing where, like you said, players belong, the fans belong. It's not a team that plays, it's a community.
Yes.
And wouldn't you agree that that's lost on sports, especially in North America for the most part?
Absolutely. Because where I come from and in many parts, in other parts of the world, most people, we do understand that sport, it's more than just the team or the club that you support. It becomes your second family. And in North America, that's something that we have lost, in my opinion, again. Because sports, it's one thing that's supposed to unify us, as especially looking at what, the Canadian government were promoting. We say inclusion, diversity, and see on how we can all unify, as one big country. But you look at it, there's some limitation when we talk about sports and accessibility and affordability. When often we talk about inclusion, and some people may say, oh, because of particular race, religion, background, social status. But when you come to sports, there's one thing that brings us all together. It's that one language. It's one song we can understand, right? And that's what sports should be, a sense of where everybody can be included. It's not about business, it's about community.
And you could even argue that it's not even about winning.
Oh,
it's
yes.
great to win, but to be a part of the competition is great.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, to touch on that is just, again, for our tournaments, people really have confused us because when we initially started, people, they thought we're just going to give big cash prize as to an incentive to bring in people. And we said no. We are not giving a big cash prize because that takes away the sense of community, takes away the sense of the meaning of what sports should be all about. So in most of our competition, the cash price is less than even $500, right? And these are communities, these are people, thousands of people. But again, it's not about putting cash value to it. It's about actually community.
That's absolutely, I'm blown away by this, that this is happening right under our noses and that mainstream media don't really even report on something like this. Yet this is basically, it's a fabric of, it's part of what the fabric of our society should be.
Yes, yes.
Now, how many teams are there in the Manitoba African Cup of Nations in a given year?
Each year we have been seeing a lot of growth, despite of, again, pandemic. The first year we started with 4 teams, right? The very first year. And I wouldn't really consider it teams, we consider them communities. Because when they play, everybody, grandma, auntie, uncle, everybody comes. It's not about only the athletes, the people who are performing, and maybe their girlfriends. No, everybody comes.
Welcome back from that commercial break. This is our entertainment today. Black Film Space, Manitoba, amplifying Black voices and talent in Canadian industry.
The film industry in Manitoba has seen hundreds of big budget and made-for-TV movies being filmed in the province over the last decade. This has helped to put Winnipeg on the map as a destination for filmmakers and actors worldwide. However, despite the many successes that the industry has enjoyed, there has been a significant void for Black Canadians in terms of film creation, production, and casting. That's where Black Film Space Manitoba comes in. Black Film Space Manitoba is a collective of 5 Manitoban companies that have come together to create a space for Black Canadians in film. The organization is committed to promoting diversity, inclusion, and representation in the film industry and supporting the next generation of Black filmmakers and actors. Chris Sharp, one of the founding members of Black Film Space Manitoba, said Black Film Space Manitoba is a collective of some of the greatest and up-and-coming minds and talent in Canada who just happen to be right here in Manitoba doing amazing work. The organization is dedicated to providing a supportive and innovative environment where Black Canadians can hone their craft and develop their skills in the film industry. One of the organization's first featured projects in early production is Cool Sweepings, the first ever Black curling comedy feature film about Black Jamaicans starting a curling team. The film draws its inspiration from the box office smash Cool Runnings from 30 years ago about a Jamaican bobsledding team. Black Film Space Manitoba is raising funds for the feature through a crowdfunding campaign. Government funding for film in Canada at all 3 levels of government is a monumental task in itself. Despite the non-stop promotion of supposed funding, the process is complicated with criteria that are more exclusionary than inclusive and extensive waiting periods for disbursement. Funding is generally limited or seasonal. With the launch of Black Film Space Manitoba, the community is rallying together to ensure the success of the project. The significance and importance of having representation for the Black community in the film industry cannot be overstated. It is essential that the industry reflects the diversity of the Canadian population and that everyone has the opportunity to share their stories and experiences. Black Film Space Manitoba is doing its part to create a more inclusive and diverse film industry in Manitoba and to provide a platform for Black Canadians to showcase their talents and make their voices heard. Black Film Space Manitoba is committed to doing something lasting and will continue supporting Manitobans' talents while contributing to the economy. The organization is a beacon of hope for the Black community in Manitoba, paving the way for a more inclusive and diverse film industry in Canada. With the support of the community, Black Film Space Manitoba is poised to make a significant impact on the film industry and provide opportunities for Black Canadians to succeed and thrive.
World news. We leave you today with peace between Israelis and Palestinians is now within reach, and not a moment too soon. I'm Vin Robinson signing off. Good night. C2C News, Manitoba's people of color, local news, weather, sports, civic coverage, and breaking reports. Coming this fall, C2C SN will cover local news, weather, forecasts, traffic updates, health reports, notice of events, and items of interest in the community from the BIPOC perspective.